MrBeast, Logan Paul and KSI are arguably among the most disliked figures on the internet right now. Nevertheless, they have chosen to film a podcast to promote their new product. Unfortunately for them though, the reception has been overwhelmingly negative. Why is it that just a few months ago, these three creators had a positive reputation? And why was their decision to create this podcast a significant misstep? Now, this podcast is pre-recorded before Lunchly was the center of controversy. And due to that, a lot of what they say during this podcast just ages terribly. If you didn't know, Lunchly was announced in an Instagram livestream, almost the same way as KSI and Logan Paul announced Prime. However, this time the livestream was unwatchable, the quality was bad, and what was one of the most hyped announcements just completely flopped.
I'll be honest with you boys, I'm dissatisfied with the launch. I'm dissatisfied with
Well,
it.
you know what? I think with the Prime launch, it went so well that this one had to go wrong.
And I can imagine Logan Paul was disappointed by that, but oh boy, during the recording of this podcast, he had no idea what would happen after they announced it on Twitter.
I know you, Jimmy, just got done shooting your Amazon show,
Oh my gosh,
which
yes.
from what it sounds like is gonna be the biggest game show in history ever.
Yeah.
Y'all broke how many Guinness World Records shooting
So,
it?
we broke over 40 world records while filming Beast games. If there's a world record for game shows, we broke it.
They also ended up talking about MrBeast's Amazon show, which if you didn't know, is going through a huge lawsuit right now. Many contestants reported that they didn't have enough food, some ended up being mistreated, and some of them ended up in the hospital. So as you can imagine, it's really funny to hear MrBeast in this podcast talking about how many world records they broke during recording this Amazon show. Yeah, they probably also broke the record for the most lawsuits a game show got in 24 hours. Now, they don't acknowledge any of these controversies for pretty obvious reasons. It's still an ongoing legal process, and if Jimmy talked about it at all in this podcast, he could be jeopardizing it, and it's obvious that he doesn't want to make a statement before things are official. But it just feels so awkward knowing that all of these three guys know about the controversies, they know what is really happening with MrBeast's show, but they just pretend like it never happened, and they only talk about how this show is going to be the greatest thing that television has ever seen. And what makes it even more awkward is that everyone else knows it as well. The fact that the Amazon show is in a lot of trouble right now is literally doing headlines, so it's not like you can really hide it.
Here we are 4 years later, explaining the same fucking thing to Logan. Yes, my eyes get watery. I don't know. Someone fix it.
Wait, so if you just swore. So if you swear, now are you canceled?
Brother, what do you mean that if he swears he gets cancelled? I understand that it's supposed to be a joke, but MrBeast is actually cancelled right now for far worse things than swearing. And as you would expect, Logan Paul ended up talking about Prime, and to be specific, about a lawsuit Prime is facing right now.
So earlier this year, a weird string of rumors started floating around because someone sued us saying that Prime had forever chemicals, like more than you were supposed to drink in like a lifetime, whatever. I made a TikTok debunking it. The rumor still got out there, and like low-key the damage is done. And now, even though we're in this lawsuit, whether it's true or not, people think it. And so the lawsuit got dismissed. The plaintiff does have a chance to amend it, but she's chosen not to. She's coming back with one really weak ass claim that's probably also going to get dismissed. But it's just like an example of people reaching, trying to get attention, make a quick buck on a frivolous lawsuit that actually has no merit or is based in nothing, and we're not going to settle.
But instead of mentioning any relevant lawsuits, he just mentions the one that is the least relevant, the one and only lawsuit that he is most likely going to win. And this is the thing with Logan Paul, he really likes to nitpick topics he talks about. So for example, when he mentioned the Prime lawsuit, he mentions a lawsuit that no one really even cares about, and just by googling Prime lawsuit, you'll immediately find lawsuits that are way more interesting, and on top of that, Logan is also suing Coffeezilla. Why isn't he talking about that lawsuit? That's what really people care about. Viewers want to know why Logan is suing Coffeezilla. So hearing Logan Paul go about this rant how negative press sells.
But as you know, Jimmy, negative headlines, negative press sells. And so when there's a lawsuit against Prime and we're being sued, that makes the headline.
Yeah.
When the lawsuit is dropped,
No headline?
No one gives a
No one
They're on to
has.
the next one. That's not that's not the attention.
That's
you know.
boring.
He definitely has a point, don't get me wrong, but you can't be surprised when there's so much negative press around you when you never respond to criticism that is actually important.
And people were like adverse to it. Like they're like, well, you said this 4 years ago, so like, and I'm like, well, what if I changed my mind? Or
Yeah.
what if I like matured a little bit or got older? And
You learned and grew as a human?
yeah, it's like that.
Whoa.
People
Well,
are
maybe-
unwilling to accept change about a person if they've made up their mind about that person.
Maybe people, like, there's a lot of people who just don't change.
It's also ironic how when Logan is saying this, KSI is just nodding his head and agreeing with him so much, and a few days later he brings up a sponsorship Dan TDM made 7 years ago just to make a point. And sadly for this trio, this isn't the only time the podcast didn't really age too well.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised with Lunchly we'll get a few dumb people on X, etc., being like, oh my god, they're trying to poison the kids now.
KSI literally predicted the future here, but instead of a few people saying it, pretty much everyone did. I honestly think people don't care too much about the fact that Lunchlys aren't a healthy product or whatever, but more about the fact that they promote it as a better alternative and even as a healthy product, which is just extremely misleading and is far away from it.
Less than 10% of calories should come from saturated fat. Lunchly turkey, 23% of calories come from saturated fat. Less than 10% of calories should come from added sugars. Lunchly turkey, 10.4 comes from added sugars. It's clear Lunchly, just like Lunchables, misses the mark too many times to be considered meaningfully healthier, at least in my opinion.
Now, throughout the podcast, they do talk about interesting topics, which would be really entertaining 1 or 2 years ago when these guys weren't going through so much controversy. But now, no one really cares. People want you to address the allegations and not talk about whatever else is happening on the internet.
Alpha Sigma Riz.
And now, if there wasn't enough topics that didn't age well, Logan also started talking about how he's ready to be a good dad.
I've learned a lot. And that's why I'm ready for fatherhood. And Nina actually just sent me the text that she's going into labor.
Fuck off.
I'm just kidding.
Now, I don't want to doubt that, but his kid became a part of a controversy literally a few seconds after being born. Logan Paul posted a picture announcing his newborn, and Ryan Garcia commented congratulations, to which Logan Paul responded that he's still going to sue him over Prime. Logan Paul can't even take a break. I mean, you just became a dad. At least relax for a bit and just enjoy the moment. And yes, Ryan Garcia did say a lot of crazy things about Prime, but you don't really have to be so bitter about it even on the day your kid is born. I really hope this kid won't be the next Ryan's World or something like that. Funnily enough, when they talk about kids, MrBeast just had this really awkward reaction about kids and overall giving birth.
She has a baby inside of her stomach. Is
Jimmy,
that not crazy?
it's the weirdest thing in the world.
Have you seen, like, Kick and everything?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Dude, her stomach, you'll see her stomach, you'll see the baby's like, I don't know, like a body part go like all the way across. Like a little alien punching
Oh
from
my
the
god.
inside.
How does that make her-
Has she given you the finger?
No, not yet.
No.
But I'm sure that'll happen.
She's just like,
you can feel her like fingers and toes and stuff.
no way.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's crazy.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh.
It's crazy.
Whoa.
Bro, that's wild.
You won't understand until you experience it. And like
Seeing the woman you love have a little alien inside of her, it must be just wild.
Bro is reacting like he's watching a ZD Films short. Now you might be thinking that there possibly cannot be more topics in this podcast that would age poorly. And if you think that, you are wrong.
there was one of the wives in the show like had a baby that was just born and was like breaking it down, doing TikToks, like breaking it down.
No way.
Yeah, in the room afterwards. And it's a wild thing to see, and I will not be doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, he won't be doing TikTok dances, just promoting Lunchlys on the side.
Of course, we have our snacks and our energy drink. None other than the greatest meals in the world. Lunchly, of course.
Okay, never mind.
Like eventually
Never.
when she's older, I'm sure she'll drink Prime and like I'll probably set Prime near her.
No.
Actually, I'm gonna brand my baby for sure.
I was about to say, this is...
but way less than anyone would
When's the last
expect.
time you got punched? Because this isn't the Logan I know.
I really hope he's just joking, because I feel like it's so messed up to immediately just brand products with your kid when she isn't even going to preschool. And now, next on the list of topics that didn't age well on this podcast.
Obviously, I'm not going to get mad about it. I've never threatened to kill someone over a Tesla. So, like, why would I get mad? It's just funny.
Are you sure, Jimmy? The timing of this podcast honestly sucks so much, because if it was published a few years ago when Logan Paul didn't have CryptoZoo, when MrBeast wasn't going through all of these controversies, and when KSI wasn't such a clown, this podcast would genuinely be enjoyable. I personally don't think it was bad by any means, but I can see why people will definitely be upset about it, because instead of addressing any of the allegations or controversies, they just talk about completely different subjects. And all of this just makes the podcast really awkward to watch. Let me know your thoughts and subscribe for more content.